Yo, hope everyone enjoyed their Mother's Day, celebrated the weekend with all the moms out there. I sure did. But today we're back to business. We got more scary and creepy TikTok videos that you should not watch before bed.
Whatever you do, do not answer this phone call.
John Pork.
This is John Pork. Now, he's supposedly a CGI generated influencer with an unsettling appearance. He seems to be half man, half swine. The creature posts videos of himself dancing and traveling around the world to popular tourist locations. But this is where things get scary. You see, John used to call everybody, but nobody would answer before he was sadly unalive. Yeah, John is no longer with us. He had went out for a night of fun.
Wait. He's a CGI generated influencer, right? So he must be an actual person, right? And they just put CGI over his face. So did the actual person die, or did John Pork die?
And tragically was unalived. After this, people have been getting strange calls from a haunting contact that says John Pork. And if you answer, this is what happens. Before I tell you, I know this food look good. I'm sorry, I can't share. But here's what we're gonna do. Your fourth at has to make or buy you food for the rest of this month, since I made you suffer. Let me know who it is. Supposedly, if you answer the call of John Pork, you'll summon him from the dead, and at midnight, he'll appear.
Have you guys
I don't know
heard
about
of
John
the
Pork.
gin-filled wedding? I don't know about you guys, but this story definitely freaked me out. Let me know what you think. So this story takes us back to 1997 in Kuwait, where we meet this woman here named Nora. She actually had her own band that was quite popular in the area, and they would perform at many weddings. And on one particular day in 1997, she received a phone call about someone inquiring about her band playing at an upcoming wedding. Of course, she said yes, and soon enough the wedding came around. Now at this point in time, it was very common for weddings to be held at the homes of the family.
That's a big house.
And this time it was no different. The wedding was being held at a giant mansion in Kuwait. So Nora and her bandmates get to the house and they notice how beautifully decorated it was. They knock on the door and a woman opens it and lets them in. Nora and her bandmates were then led to a separate seating area. As they were waiting, a woman comes towards them and greets all of the bandmates. She talks to them about how much she enjoys their music, greets them, and gives them all a kiss on the cheek. But this is where Nora saw something very odd. When she went to give the woman a kiss on the cheek, she said that the woman's face was extremely hot, almost as if she had a fever. And she also stated that the woman had a very masculine vibe to her, but she decided to brush it off. So Nora and her bandmates start playing their music, and everyone at the wedding is dancing and having a good time. However, in the middle of all this, one of Nora's bandmates noticed something very alarming. She tells Nora that she noticed that many of the women had an abnormal amount of body hair on them. But then she tells Nora that one of the women lifted up her skirt and she noticed that she didn't have regular feet. Instead of having normal human feet, the woman ended up having hooves.
I'd be
Obviously,
creeped out.
this freaked out Nora's bandmate quite a lot. Nora tells her friend not to freak out and to continue playing because they didn't want to draw any unwanted attention towards them. A few minutes after that, Nora said the bride and groom finally entered the room. They were both then sat at this weird looking statue that had its mouth wide open. And just a few minutes after that, all of the lights completely went out inside the house. Nora and her bandmates took this as an opportunity to finally escape, and they just ran out of the house into the darkness of the night. At this point, it was now around 3 a.m. and the women thankfully ended up running into a man. He asks them what's wrong and they tell him that they were just playing at a wedding at that house behind them. The man was extremely confused, and so he asks the woman to point out the house. The women then point at a house that had been abandoned, and the man tells them that no one has lived there for over 10 years. And when the women looked back, the beautiful house that they had arrived to was no longer there. After that
No
night,
way.
Nora and her band decided to retire.
Yo, she said, we're done. We're retiring. We done. Yo, that's crazy. They said the house wasn't there no more, right? So she said that these people had hooves for feet, and it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you guys read. I mean, a lot of people don't read. I'm just being honest. But if you read books, if you ever read the book, The Island of Dr. Moreau, I believe there might be a movie to it, but it's kind of old, so you might not like it. But it's Island of Dr. Moreau, and it's about this guy who's like making these animals into walking trying to make them upright humans. And it's just crazy. People had hooved feet just like that. They had a monkey man, a panther man, all type of stuff.
This is the father-daughter incest case that turned into a murder. You guys, this one is disgusting. If I had to hear it, then so do you. Hi, I'm Julie. I talk about true crime, dark history, and all things weird and spooky. So if that's what you're into, please give me a follow and also follow my Instagram. Okay, so you're gonna need a backstory. In 1995, when Stephen Plattle was 20 years old, he met and groomed 15-year-old Alyssa on the internet. He traveled to San Antonio, Texas to begin a sexual relationship with her. And then Alyssa ran away with Stephen to begin a life with him in New York. Alyssa is his first wife, by the way. Alyssa became pregnant at 16, and then they had their first baby when she turned 17 years old, and they named her Denise Plattle. According to Alyssa, Stephen inflicted torturous abuse on their daughter, Denise. He pinched her and beat her till she was black and blue, and even tried to drown her multiple times.
Oh wow,
Alyssa
dude,
decided
crazy.
to put Denise up for adoption because she didn't believe that Denise would have a chance at life if she lived with Stephen. Anthony and Kelly Fusco adopted Denise and renamed her Katie Rose Fusco. In August 2016, when Katie was 18 years old, she reached out to her biological parents, Stephen and Alyssa Plattle, on Facebook. They met in Knightdale, North Carolina, and Katie then decided to move in with Stephen and Alyssa and their 2 children. By the time Katie moved in, Stephen and Alyssa had actually agreed to separate, so they were sleeping in different bedrooms. Over the following months, Stephen and Katie became incredibly close. In May 2017, Alyssa read in one of her children's diaries that Katie and Stephen were involved in sexual activity and that Katie was pregnant.
Oh, no.
She read that her 2 children were told that Katie was their stepmother. Alyssa called Stephen immediately, and then he confirmed that this abusive, incestuous relationship was true and that she was actually pregnant. Alyssa then called the police, as she should. On July 20, 2017, Stephen and Katie got married and lied on their marriage documents saying that they weren't related. The wedding was attended by Stephen's mother and Katie's adoptive parents. It just baffles me that they attended this disgusting
Did they know what was going on?
There's no way that these people didn't know that they were related. Katie gave birth to her own father's baby and named him Bennett Kieran Plattle in September 2017. In January 2018, Katie and Stephen were arrested for incest charges. The judge ordered that Katie and Stephen have no contact with each other and that Bennett would go into the custody of Stephen's mother. Following their release bond, Katie decided to move back in with her adoptive parents, and she told Stephen that she did not want to continue with this relationship. Sorry guys, come back.
Kinda late for that.
I don't have the 10-minute feature.
Was this man...
We gotta find part 2, but that's just messed up, guys. Like, ugh, people be creepy. And then the adopted parents was there, and her grandma was there, and they just all in this crazy, freaky, ugh.
Really a time traveler? In the early 2000s, a man by the name of John Titor started popping off on the internet. Well, you see, he claimed that he was a member of a military unit and was sent back by their time travel division. He went further and provided detailed information about the technology of his time machine.
I'm not gonna lie. I think time travel is real. I go back and forth with it, because sometimes I don't even believe time is real. But I do believe that, man, it's just crazy. I don't believe. I'm just up in the air with it, I guess. But imagine if you are in the future and you're able to go back. And then when you do go back, you're able to give people bits and pieces of the technology from the future, right? It's kind of like we went from, just in the last 100 years, less than that, from like technology has skyrocketed, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they went from, man, it's just crazy to even think about, it's increasing tenfold year by year. And there's no way that just happens. I don't think the human mind can even think like that. So they had to have help. And what if it's from a time travel, or, a lot of people say ETs, but who knows?
Even posting photos about it and explaining how it was invented and how it worked. However, at the peak of his following, he suddenly disappeared and was never heard from again. Some people speculated that he was revealing too much and was captured by the government. But even though his predictions about the future have come true, many people are still asking the question,
were Adam and Eve actually aliens? Some theorists believe that Adam and Eve were not created by a divine being, but were actually sent to Earth by extraterrestrial entities.
Quick pause. I heard that there were multiple stories of Adam. And there were many different Adams throughout history, and each Adam was part of a different race. Adam, Atum, it all kind of relates.
According to this theory, these beings saw Earth as a suitable planet to sustain life and decided to seed it with their own genetic material. Adam and Eve, therefore, were the first humans to be created on Earth, but their DNA was not entirely of this world. This could explain why the story of Adam and Eve has so many similarities with other ancient creation myths from around the world. Some proponents of this theory suggest that Adam and Eve were not the only extraterrestrial beings to be sent to Earth. They believe that there have been multiple instances throughout history where advanced civilizations have intervened in human affairs, such as in the construction of ancient megalithic structures or the...
These are the 9 deadliest animals to humans. You may think they're polar bears, lions, or even sharks, but they're not. Wait till you see these. Number 9. Hippos. 500 human deaths per year. Number 8. Elephants. 600 deaths per year. Number 7. Saltwater crocodiles. 1,000 deaths per year.
Yo, I did not know that there were saltwater crocodiles. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sitting here talking to some people the other day, and they're talking about alligators. I'm like, yeah, I'm just not gonna go any freshwater lakes if I go to Florida, you know what I'm saying? Or anywhere on the coast. But now, I guess I have to watch out in the saltwater as well.
Number 6. Roundworms. 2,500 deaths per year. Number 5. Scorpions. 2,600 deaths per year. Number 4. Assassin bugs. 10,000 deaths per year. Number 3. Saw-scaled viper snakes. 138,000 deaths per year. Number 2. Freshwater snails. 200,000 deaths per year. And finally, number 1. Mosquitoes.
I knew it was mosquitoes.
25,000 to 1 million deaths per year.
So a lot of people know the movie, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Most people know him as like he's this slasher with a chainsaw. He like wears people's faces, and you know he's just like his family is helping him like commit all these murders, and they're trying to keep it hush because he's crazy. And it's like, oh, he's just our sweet little boy. He's just not all the way there. And that's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's what most people know him as, right? But what most people don't know is that it is actually based off of a real story. So there's this guy named Ed Gein, right? Ed Gein was born in Wisconsin. And he grew up and he was super isolated, like always by himself. People described him as like a weird dude. Like he was very, always like by himself, like never really in a crowd or had any friends. He was always like a recluse. Ed Gein started grave robbing and like digging up dead bodies, and he would use their skin for like stuff around the house. He'd use their bones as like utensils, and he has been confirmed to have killed at least 2 people, but they think it's upwards of 10. But yeah, so he was a...
If you ever hear a whistle coming from the woods, it's probably too late for you. As you may have heard, you should never whistle near the woods at nighttime, or you may attract something sinister to your location, like... However, these creatures are not the only ones that are indicated by a whistle.
Wait, you can't say that on TikTok? Yo, TikTok got some crazy rules and stuff, right? You can't say a lot of stuff on there. They'll take your videos down. I did not know that. Dang, it must be a real thing if you can't say it.
El Salbón, also known as the Whistler, is said to have been a Venezuelan man who was doomed to become a damned soul after murdering his father, or father-in-law, depending on which version of the story you hear. According to one version of the legend, the man had been working on his father's farm when he received word that his pregnant wife had had her virtue questioned and was murdered by his father, or father-in-law. He became enraged and killed his father to avenge her death. Upon finding out that he had killed his father, his grandfather teamed up with many of the local farmers to capture and brutally torture the man by first whipping his back and then rubbing salt into the wounds to increase the pain. They then murdered him by sending 2 huge dogs after him as he fled into the woods. His body was never recovered, so no one really knows what happened to him. However, many people believe that he became a restless soul wandering for eternity, killing any adulterers and drunk travelers that cross his path. Another version claims that he shows up at people's doorsteps with a bag of bones, sets it on the doorstep, and begins counting every single bone. And as the story goes, if you don't listen to the clanking of the bones, your entire family will die. Regardless of the specifics, all versions claim that his presence is declared with the sound of a whistle. If the whistle sounds nearby, he's actually very far away and you're probably safe. But if the whistle sounds far in the distance, he's nearby and it's probably too late for you to escape. If it's any consolation, you'll get to travel a lot, as Bones and the Whistler's sat.
The picture behind me is considered to be one of the scariest pictures on the internet. It was the mid-1950s and the Cooper family had just bought their first home in Texas. Excited to finally be living the American dream, they sat down for dinner and decided to take a family photo. They took the photo and it appeared like everything was completely normal. The father, Mr. Cooper, took a picture of his wife, his mother, and their 2 sons. But when he took the film in to get it developed and he got the pictures back a few weeks later, they noticed something very strange. This was the picture they got back.
Yo, what's that? Yo, I'm not gonna lie. Like film, cameras, and pictures and things, like those pictures, they showed so much, right? You get a digital camera nowadays, it's a lot different. But if you had a film camera and you didn't know what you seen or what you took the picture of until after you processed it, and then you see this, you're like, whoa, this was 2 weeks ago. Where is this ghost at now? But yeah, man, I like film cameras.
Influencer was just convicted for lying about her children's kidnapping. In December of 2020, Katie took her 2 children to a Michael's craft store. They bought some items and went back to the car with no issues. But a few minutes later, she called police and said that a couple tried to kidnap her children. A week later, Katie made a video about it and posted it to her Instagram, Motherhood Essentials. It gained over 4 million views, but this time she added more details than she gave to police. She claimed a couple followed her around the store, made comments about her kids, and then tried to take them. She also went on the local news talking about it. So police followed up and she identified this couple. But after police questioned the couple and watched the video, they realized that Katie made it all up. In 2021, Katie was charged with 3 misdemeanor counts for making a false report. This past Thursday, a jury found her guilty on one of those counts. Her bond was set at $100,000.
Whatever you...
They do anything for the clout, right? Made a whole story, tried to get some people convicted of kidnapping just for the views. A mom-fluencer at that.
Do not wear red. In the 1940s, a series of mysterious disappearances occurred in Vermont, in an area known as the Bennington Triangle. 6 people disappeared, one after the other. What seemed like a strange coincidence was that all 6 were wearing red. Glastonbury Mountain is at the center of the triangle. 6 persons went missing in the area between 1943 and 1950, and none of the cases were ever solved. What was the same for all of them was that they all disappeared into thin air, and they were wearing red. The Bennington Triangle has a history of UFO sightings, Bigfoot attacks, and Native American curses. Many people also claim that the area is a window to another dimension because of the many strange occurrences. Due to everyone eventually choosing to move, the town has become a ghost town. But although the town is completely deserted and abandoned, a series of mysterious deaths continues. However, if you ever visit Glastonbury Mountain, just make sure
there's an entire
I will not wear red.
civilization of people that have no idea about the outside world.
Come on, bro. It's 2023.
There's this island called Centennial Island. It's illegal to go there. The Indian Navy patrols 3 miles around. Yeah. You're not allowed to go past that. Whenever the British showed up, whenever they had control of India, they actually took 2 adults and 2 kids
I heard about
back
this story.
to India.
Yeah.
The 2 adults died from disease because uncontacted tribe, they don't have like the same immune system.
Yeah.
And they eventually brought back the 2 kids, but you can kind of see that doesn't really give them a good view of outsiders.
Right.
There's this kid from America. I think his name was John Allen Cho. He wanted to bring Christianity to these people. He actually hired, while it was illegal, these Indian fishermen to bring him close enough. So he actually had a canoe that he dropped down and tried to go there multiple times. But they kept on trying to attack him and stuff. So he'd go back to the boat. Eventually he went there and told the Indian fisher boat to leave.
Yeah.
And he still has like, I think it's like 13 pages that they're able to find of like him talking about like how he's scared for his life, but how beautiful the sunset is, and he's scared that
the Vatican doesn't.
Yeah, I heard about that, man. You can't go to somebody else's land. They don't want you there, and you trying to bring something there that they don't even want multiple times. You're kind of forcing the issue at this point, and you've seen what happened. And it's unfortunate, but y'all gotta leave these people alone.
Want you to know about this time device. In 2002, a book was released by a man named Francois Brune that revealed that time travel may already be possible. Well, you see, he claimed that in the 1950s, 12 world-renowned scientists actually cracked the code on time travel with the ability of harnessing electromagnetic sound waves that had been emitted in the past. He went on to show further proof with a photograph of Jesus's actual crucifixion. However, when questioned about the whereabouts of the device, he mentioned that the Vatican came in and confiscated it, and denying that anything of the sort ever existed. Interestingly enough, in 1988, the Vatican passed a law stating that anyone caught in possession of a device with time travel capabilities will be excommunicated. If the chronovisor was not real, then why was a law such as this passed? Even though you can watch the full video by clicking on the link in the description below, what is the Vatican afraid of? And is it true that?
Let's talk about the true killer car that inspired the 1983 horror movie Christine. This John Carpenter film was the adaptation of the 1983 novel Christine by Stephen King. In both the book and the movie, it's about a 1958 Plymouth Fury possessed by otherworldly forces terrorizing a small town. But there really is a killer car that this story is about. Meet the Golden Eagle, which was a 1964 Dodge 330 limited edition. It has been dubbed the most evil car in America. According to the story, it's responsible for at least 14 deaths. The Golden Eagle was originally used as a police car in Old Orchard Beach, Maine. 3 of the officers who drove the vehicle all ended up killing their families in a murder-suicide. Eventually, it was sold to the Allen family, and while no members of that family were ever harmed, several poor souls who vandalized the car in the 80s and 90s met tragic fates. And 2 kids who were hit by other cars died after being flung onto the Golden Eagle. Then in 2008, one kid just touched the car. Later, he went home to murder his whole family and burn his house to the ground. Wendy Allen, who was nicknamed Eel Cat and the Sea Witch of Old Orchard Beach, was the Golden Eagle's longtime owner and continued to drive it despite its apparent kill count. One day, they sought to put an end to the madness by stealing the car, chopping it up, and distributing each piece to various junkyards. Other than the doors just randomly opening on the highway, she claims that nothing spooky has been attributed to the rebuild of the Golden Eagle.
If you're wondering how much human skin goes for on the black market, it's $10 per square inch. The average human body has up to 2,800 square inches of skin. If you were to sell an entire human body on the black market, that would get you about $28,000.
No wonder there's so many people that come up missing, y'all. Man, it's crazy. They do the same thing with melanin. You know, you can sell that too on the black market. It's just crazy. Pineal, oh my gosh. The list goes on and on.
A disturbing case of the Slenderman stabbing. On the morning of the 31st of May 2014, a man on a bike ride in Wisconsin made a shocking discovery. A 12-year-old girl, Peyton Leutner, was lying on the grass covered in blood. The day prior, the young girl had been at a sleepover with some of her friends. She hadn't realised that the sleepover had been a trick to lure her into the woods to murder her.
Man,
2 years before what the media dubbed the Slenderman stabbing, Peyton had met her friend Morgan at school. The pair had become friends when Peyton noticed her sitting alone in the cafeteria and felt sorry for her. The two became close, and then they made another friend, Anissa Weir. Anissa, on the left here, was described as a cruel girl. She seemed really jealous of the friendship between Peyton and Morgan. As their friendship grew, Anissa and Morgan became obsessed with the internet meme Slenderman. Slenderman was a tall, faceless man with long arms who turned viral when people would Photoshop him into creepy images. The mythical man would prey on young children and lure them into the woods to kill people. Shockingly, around December 2013, Morgan and Anissa concocted a plan to kill someone in order to show their dedication to the fictional Slenderman. Their plan was to invite Peyton to Morgan's birthday to get her alone, and then lure her into the woods and kill her. Morgan actually described this as a flawless plan. As the girls started their walk to the woods, Morgan snuck a knife from her kitchen into her waistband. They then completely blindsided poor Peyton. Morgan jumped on top of her and started stabbing her. The two perpetrators then run off, claiming that they were going to go and get help. The young girl was left to struggle on her own and crawl towards the road to get help. When the cyclist discovered her, an ambulance arrived and nurses noted that she had 19 stab wounds. She had 6 hours of intensive surgery but miraculously survived. The girls were charged with attempted first-degree intentional homicide. Now, the jury actually found Morgan not criminally responsible due to schizophrenia. She was sentenced to 40 years in a mental health institution. Anissa had apparently experienced shared psychotic disorder and was sentenced to 25 years in a mental...
I never even knew that was a thing. Shared psychotic disorder. Like, they make a name for anything. But stories like that, man, that just makes me never even want to send my kids to a sleepover. Just think about it, man. You think you're going over there with your friends and then they luring you to do some crazy stuff like that? That's just sad. I ain't gonna lie.
Disturbing films to ever exist, part 3. Listen, this shit only gets worse and worse, bro. First up, we got 1999's The Red Room.
Never seen
this
that.
This is a Japanese movie about 4 people who participate in a deadly card game, but only one of them survives. It's basically like a sick twist on a reality game show. What makes this movie different than the other movies on these disturbing movie lists is the fact that this one was actually pretty decent. It wasn't just blood, guts, and gore for no reason. This one actually had a nice plot, and it was executed pretty good. Usually I tell y'all don't go find any movies, but if you can find Red Room, I suggest you watch it. Oh, but one that I would not suggest you go watch though is Where the Dead Go to Die. See, this is an animated movie, you feel me? So the links that they could go to make this as disturbing as possible was endless. Bro, this movie got like a bunch of kids following a demonic puppy, and the puppy be doing a whole bunch of crazy shit. Like, yeah, I don't know, bro. You can actually find a version of this on YouTube, so I ain't telling you to go watch it, but if you want to, then go, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead, you know where to go. All right, on the next one, I had to blow myself up real big to try to block some of this post out because I couldn't find one that was TikTok safe. So yeah, but the movie name is The Gateway Meet. So the movie follows a group of Satanists who live in like this quiet little village, lake town, fishing town or whatever. And they just be out there wilding out doing the most egregious things you can imagine. Nefarious activities like trying to open up a portal to hell. Yeah, you heard that correctly. You can skip this one. You've heard of Faces of Death, correct? Well, let me introduce you to the real shit. Traces of Death. See, the difference between Traces of Death and Faces of Death is that Faces of Death wasn't 100% real. A lot of it was just dramatized or just completely made up for the documentary. However, everything you see in Traces of Death is 100% real. They even had the live court footage of R. Bud Dwyer when he himself in the courtroom in full graphic gory detail.
Oh, wow.
Traces of Death is nuts, and it ain't just one. They did a series of these. And lastly, what some people consider to be one of the most disturbing movies that were ever made, Snuff R73. It is a 10-minute and 55-second compilation mixtape. And I ain't gonna lie, a lot of these movies on this list I have seen. I've done the research and I went and found them and I watched them so I can make these videos. But this one, after I read the description, I said, fuck no, ain't no way in hell I'm watching this shit. A Serbian film is like an after-school special compared to this, and I wish I would stop bringing that damn movie up. And there you go, 5 more disturbing movies. Watch at your own discretion.
Okay. Yo, I ain't seen none of those movies and I probably won't. But yes, these are some of the most scary, creepy, and disturbing TikToks that are out on the internet today. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe, turn your notification bell on, and until next time, YouTube, peace.